Yo, Tyler, dog, you done did it again, bro. Cracking like broke porcelain. We ocean deep if you just pour us in a portion. I could probably send you a copy. I was canceled before cancel was with Twitter fans. Anybody who follows Tyler's music knows he recently dropped Call Me If You Get Lost a few days ago. And I've listened to that album several times now. I've listened to the album like front to back, like by myself maybe 2 or 3 times. Then I've also listened to the entire album while watching other people's reactions listening to the album. I just love watching people's reaction to when great things happen, especially when it comes to music. And Tyler, the Creator, is somebody that I've admired for a long time, purely off his creativity. Like he is the embodiment of his name. He is a creator in literally every aspect, and that's what I aspire to be. Like that's why people like Kanye West are, in my top favorite artists of all time. That's why Kanye West is my favorite artist of all time, period. And Tyler, the Creator, is making his way up there. Like after this last 3-album run, this is obviously the best era of Tyler. He's dropped his best music. I feel like it's now time that we admit that he's in a contention for greatest rap artist of all time. Like he may not be in the top 10 yet. Give it some time, he might be in the top 10. At least for me anyway. For the type of artist I like. And it's funny because way back when in 2010, when Tyler first came out with Yonkers, I did not like the nigga. I did not like it at all. I was 15. I was starting to really get into rap. And that's when I was in my real hip-hop phase. So anything that I didn't deem as real hip-hop, I just immediately, discarded and brushed off and then view as valid. But I quickly got over that phase within about a couple of years. And I really started to like what Odd Future was doing, Odd Future was like a group of just weird niggas that were talented and just fucked around. And I could really, really appreciate it. And it's interesting how things have gone over the years. Because my favorite out of Odd Future, by far, was Earl Sweatshirt. And even now, Earl Sweatshirt is one of my favorite rappers of all time. Even though I haven't really liked his last 2 projects, because his style switch up. No matter how much I try to like it, I just can't. But over these last few years, the last 2 albums Tyler has now made me a bigger Tyler fan now than I am of Earl Sweatshirt. Even though overall, I'm still a bigger fan of Earl Sweatshirt than Tyler, but just right now, today, these past few years, I'm definitely a bigger Tyler fan. But he recently dropped Call Me If You Get Lost, and this is most definitely Album of the Year contender. I've already seen the tweets. Yes, it's better than the off season. Not to say that album was bad at all, it wasn't. But this is definitely a contender for Album of the Year. Every track has a purpose on this album, and that's what I love about it. And there's a through line story throughout the entire project. This is like, it's like a mixtape semi-concept album. Like, it's so weird. Like, it's so strange. Just like a Gangsta Grills, dirty, grimy rap / neo soul / whatever weird genre Tyler decides to put himself in. Like, it's so interesting. And I love when music is interesting, man. And this project has so many standout tracks. Some of my favorite Tyler songs of all time are on this project. He dropped some of his best verses of all time on this project. And I can't help but just love watching the evolution of Tyler, the Creator. This album, from the musicality of it, the lyricism of it, the storytelling of it, the composition of it, everything is Tyler firing on all cylinders. Top-notch Tyler. It's like Tyler took all of the skills, all of the trials and tribulations, all of what he's learned from his past project, and combined it into his magnum opus. Yes, I like this album better than Igor. Even though I really like the Igor album, it was one of my favorite albums of 2019. I think it was like second right under African Giant by Burna Boy. But this project right here, Call Me If You Get Lost, it's on the level, man. whatchamacallit, the Square Garden. That was a great start to it. It really shows you the energy. And then the energy doesn't stop. Because then he hits you with an even harder track. When the beat for Lemon Head drops on with them horns, dun, 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 he's like, oh. I feel that shit in my body, nigga. I feel that shit in my body, nigga. Everything about that track is hard. That track is like the embodiment of hard. Jesus, that shit gets you hyped, gets you pumped. I don't know why Sean Cena didn't like that song, man. Then with what's the name? He comes through with the first smooth thread, like just complete like smooth, like R&B type shit. And I'm glad he came with it early to let you know that this ain't just gonna be just hard ass bangers. We're gonna have some smooth shit in here too, nigga. What is your name? What do you bring? And the start of this album was just crazy, man. Whew. Then Lumberjack, another hard track. Hot Wind Blows, another hard track with a great Lil Wayne feature. It's like Wayne's feature run right now is crazy. Because the last feature I heard from Drake was on Polo G shit. And that was one of my favorite Wayne verses in like the last couple years. Massa couldn't catch me, my legs long than a bitch. Not too much self-respect, I wash my hands for I piss. I love this song. I love how he just, like a diary entry almost, just explaining some shit, clearing some shit up. And one of my favorite lines on this is part of the hook, but it's literally the first line. What does it say? Massa can't catch me, my legs long as a bitch. Like, the imagery that puts in my head, it just puts an image of literally him, like, running. And it's like those, like, oldie cartoons, like the minstrel racist-looking cartoons, and just him really running away from Massa. Just that metaphor and the image it puts in your head, I just love that line so much. Little white bitch gonna say, you need to say something about that. You need to say something about black. Bitch, suck my let them serpents rattle, baby. Cracking like broke porcelain, bitch. We ocean deep. If you just pour us in a portion of shit, then we can claim what we need. We done with pain and agreement. Niggas is done with the peace. Whether it's personal or for the whole of niggas indeed. Niggas with plans, we'll put this plastic on first, cause shit is hitting the fan, nigga. Call them boogers. This song, in terms of like the beat, this is probably like the hardest beat on the album. And that was a high bar to pass. I thought the Lemonhead beat was hard. Like, this shit right here, just straight dirty. Like, the way the beat switches up and just how both Uzi and Pharrell just float on this shit. This junk is so hard, nigga. There's so much good about this project. And he doesn't sacrifice anything in the creation of this. He doesn't sacrifice his rapping ability. He doesn't sacrifice his production. He doesn't sacrifice his storytelling. He doesn't sacrifice anything to deliver us a good product. And that's one thing I'm always gonna appreciate about a creator, man. He barring niggas up. And every feature, like the features on this shit reminds me of some Kanye shit. I mean, of course, it's Tyler. Of course, he has Kanye influences. But just how he's able to take features, especially odd features, and make them sound great. 42 Doug on Lemonhead, that was he flowed on that shit. NBA Youngboy, he killed his feature on that song. Even though I do feel, because I am a Youngboy fan, that some of the people who aren't Youngboy fans are acting like this is his best ever verse. It's not. It's not his best ever work. But I do love his feature on this album. Juggernaut is truly a fucking juggernaut of a song. Juggernaut of a song. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's just amazing to watch the growth of somebody that was such a misfit and so problematic. And I like that he addressed that in a couple of songs. He addressed how he's changed in Massa and why some of his old projects like Cherry Bomb was so
not good in a lot of people's eyes, because he was in a transition period in his music, in his life, in his body. Everything was transitioning, and I can and I can relate, because like I feel like I'm just now hitting my real puberty now, like because so I understand, like I can relate to that song. Like you can see my peach fuzz starting to come in. I'm like 25 years old. My favorite track on this album has to be Manifesto. Everything about that shit is hard. It's Tyler explaining himself, and he's explaining himself in a way that he doesn't completely dismiss the issues. Because that's one thing I always hated about artists who are like, you can't tell me what to talk about. Sure, granted, that's correct. But then they go and just dismiss the issue outright. Tyler, in that song, didn't dismiss the issue. His entire point was, I don't know how to fix this shit. I feel like if I try to talk about it, I'm gonna say some dumb shit and fuck shit up. But that doesn't mean I don't care about this shit. That doesn't mean that I don't help out in my own way. And that doesn't mean that I don't think about this shit myself. Like that was what the entire point of that song was. And I love Damo Genesis' verse. Damo has one of the best verses on the entire album. But Manifesto, it pretty much just exemplifies because all the things that I disliked about Tyler at the beginning, you know, about how problematic he was, how, you know, it didn't seem like how like childish he was, how he didn't really seem like he cared about anything, and just addressed that. Because that's one of the biggest gripes I had about Tyler growing up. You know, I liked his music, I liked his style, but I felt like he was too much of an edgelord, and it was kind of childish for me. But you can see that he's grown up. I love to watch growth, especially growth in music or growth in talented people. And in terms of the album in its whole, it's really just an album against the grills like mixtape that bar niggas up. He's clearing some misconceptions about himself, explaining his life, and also there's a through line story in the entire album of him falling in love with this girl that also turns out to be one of his friends' girl. So it becomes a whole awkward issue, and in the end, the girl chooses Homeboy instead of Tyler, which kind of climaxes in Wiltshire, where he goes into detail about the situation, pretty much explains his whole perspective, his whole view on everything. He acknowledges how much of a shitty person he was in the situation, but also acknowledges how just bad of a situation it was anyway, because he wasn't trying to be a bad person, but he couldn't help the fact that he fucking loved this girl. It's a really complex story. It really makes Tyler look like a shiesty ass nigga. I'm not gonna lie, because if I was the other dude, I would have had to square up with Tyler. I'm sorry. That's mad disrespectful. I'm sorry. I understand your perspective and your story. A little shiesty though. That's a little grimy, man. That's like Dirty Mac and 101. It was a great album. Great features. Great production as always from Tyler, the Creator. I love Tyler's production, man. And this last 3-album run is, of course, the best era of Tyler. And I've listened to all of Igor. I think I've listened to Igor a couple of times. I've already listened to Call Me When You Get Lost a few times. And funny enough, I haven't listened to the entire of Flower Boy. Like, I've listened to songs off Flower Boy, but I don't think I've ever listened to the entire album, like in one go. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, just so I can have the full experience and full knowledge of the current era of Tyler, the Creator that we're in, and how Tyler, the Creator is formulating his path as one of the greatest artists of all time, as one of the most talented people in music of all time. And Tyler, even though I don't agree with, you know, everything that he does, all of his views, that doesn't really matter. I fuck with Tyler as a personality. He's a funny dude. He seems like a good dude for the most part. And he's hyper talented. He does everything himself, and I can relate to that heavy. This album is just another great piece of work from Tyler, a masterpiece if I was to say it. And I'm just glad that he's blessed us with this music. And I hope y'all like it too. If y'all haven't listened to Call Me When You Get Lost, go ahead and click off this video, go to your streaming, your preferred streaming app, and go stream that shit. Oh shit, go buy it, because I'm definitely gonna try to buy the vinyl as soon as that shit come out. Like, rating this album is weird for me, because when I rate an album, I rated a good. I look at other albums that I've already rated that, and I want to give "Call Me When You Get Lost" a 9. But an album that I have as a 9 is Good Kid, Mad City, and Good Kid, Mad City is an album that I've returned to almost every year since it's dropped. And I guess it's just not fair, because "Call Me When You Get Lost" just got dropped, but I do feel like over the course of the next several years, this is an album that I would be going back to. Just too much good that I like here. Too much bars here. Amazing production. Amazing story. Everything about this. Amazing aesthetic. Everything about this I like. And I really do feel like this is an album that I will be coming back to. So, Tyler, the Creator, Call Me When You Get Lost. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna take the leap. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's a crazy good album, dog. Y'all gotta go listen to it. Alright, man. Peace.